Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Wellness by Design today. So, are you in a flare? If you have ever been in a flare, so that means the symptoms of pain or inflammation start acting up, then I'm going to give you some guidelines today on how to deal with that. Things that work for me and work for people that I help. And really important because uh, well, when we're trying to heal, we think as we start getting better that it's going to be a very linear path. And actually, it isn't a linear path. It could be, but more often it's a little bit bumpy, right? We have little bumps in the road. And so our healing is not direct. So, first of all, I guess knowing and understanding that our path may not be a linear one is helpful. But I'm going to give you some tips today on how to deal with flares and setbacks. So, I'm Jane Hogan, the wellness engineer, and I had a great big flare in 2016 when rheumatoid arthritis started. And then I started healing myself, learning a bit more, figuring things out, going very slowly, trying a lot of things. And along the way, of course, I would have flares. I'd feel a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, I would feel worse again. And then I would get into kind of a worried panic state. Oh, is this a sign that things are getting worse and I'm actually not healing? I've come to realize that that there is a way to get out of it, then you can get right back on the healing path again. And I guess, do I still have rheumatoid arthritis? I guess I'm still prone to it, right? So I still have to follow all of these things that I teach because sometimes I have flares. In fact, what encouraged me to talk about this today was a flare that I had last week. So I had a little bit of extra pain in my shoulder and wasn't feeling very well. And so actually, I don't have pain in my shoulder regularly. So this pain suddenly came on my shoulder, which was very reminiscent of the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis that I had right in the beginning. That was the first place I felt it, was in my shoulder. So this really brought me back, and I really wanted to. I knew that it was a flare and I had to get over it quickly. So if you've ever been a flare, if you're watching now or listening, just you can put a comment in and just let me know if you've ever had a flare before, and how did you feel when it happened? Did you start to feel despair? Really important that you understand that when we feel despair, that actually creates stress if we perceive it as being a problem. So if we start to go down the road, like I used to do, of, oh, this flare, it's a sign that what I'm doing isn't working, I'm never going to get better, what they said was right, all those things, of course, that creates stress, right? And when we create stress with our thoughts, so we start perceiving what's happening as being stressful, we create cortisol in our body. And here's the thing, I've read this recently and it kind of blew my mind. 5 minutes of being in stress takes 8 hours for those levels to come down again. 8 hours. So we want to try to limit that time that we are perceiving stress. Good morning, Lorna. Nice to have you on. I haven't been in touch with you for a while. Really nice to connect with you. So the signs I'm going to talk about the signs and symptoms of flares first. So what are some signs and symptoms of flares? Well, a lot of different things. So it could be pain. I mean, that was the big one for me, was pain. So maybe some of your symptoms are getting aggravated again. So it could be pain. It could be some skin issues, headaches, blocked nose, sinus congestion. It could be mood problems, fatigue, insomnia, really any of the symptoms that you knew were a problem for you, it's those symptoms coming back or those symptoms becoming intensified. So that's how you kind of recognize. I mean, the big one, if you're in my audience, chances are pain is the thing for you. And so it would be an increase in pain. So that's what a flare can feel like. Now, what are some things that can cause the flare? Well, actually, so it could be a number of things. It could be foods that you eat. That's what I used to believe all the time. Well, it must be something I ate. It's much more likely. Okay, so let's go through some of the other ones first. So it could be foods. It could be maybe you've been exposed to toxins. So maybe you got exposed to some mold, maybe some bacteria. Maybe you got exposed to some infection, just an ordinary common kind of infection. Maybe you got exposed to some toxins like detergents or cleaners, or what I'm thinking about right now is we just had our furnace serviced and I can smell the oil in the house. Well, that's a smell that really I don't like. It kind of gives me a headache right away. Being exposed to heavy metals, gasoline, all that kind of thing. It could be, so a food reaction could be like maybe gluten or sugars or extra starches or dairy or grains. Did I say sugar? Sugar. Binders, so things like guar gum, or another binder is, oh goodness, I've forgotten the name of it now, that they use a lot. The xanthan gum, used a lot now in gluten-free foods because they need to have something else to glue it together. So it's still does the same, a very similar thing. Preservatives, bad oils, that's like kryptonite for me, like those corn oils and things like that are really bad for me. So it could be that kind of exposure. Toxins, you could be sick, maybe you over-exercised. That could be it too, right? Maybe you over-exercised and that can create stress in our body. Maybe you didn't exercise enough. So maybe you just haven't been moving enough and then the lymph system gets a little bit stagnant and then the toxins are building up in your body. So it could be something like that. It could be lack of routine, lack of sleep. But the big one that really I find always comes back to, and I often now say this to my clients or the women that are in my Wonderful Fine group, is what have your thoughts been? What have your thoughts been? Have you been thinking stressful thoughts? Have you been worried about things? Have you been having emotions towards yourself or other people of anger or resentment or hatred or lack of forgiveness? Have you not been loving yourself? Have you been overworking yourself? Have you been trying to control things too much, being a perfectionist, having too much on your to-do list? So those types of things to me are the ones that really have probably for me now even more influence than like food and all those other things. And it could also be a combination of these things, right? Okay, so the signs, so we've talked about signs and symptoms, we talked about causes. So what are the 3 things you can do if you're experiencing a flare? So I like to think of these as the three L's: listen, love, and learn. So first of all, listen. When I say listen, it means listen to your body. So don't push yourself. Give yourself a rest. Maybe have a nap in the middle of the day. And just send the area some love. Like maybe if it's an ache or a pain, maybe rub a nice salve on it or an ointment, nice organic one with essential oils. Maybe you do all these things. Maybe you put some heat on it or cold on it, and then you touch it and you send it some love. So close your eyes and think about it like a small child or a pet that needs some love, that you need to give it loving attention and say, I've got you. I'm here for you. Okay, so really, really, that's the second part of it, giving it some love. So listen to your body, take it easy, loving it, giving it some love, like really loving it. I'm touching my shoulder because for me, that's what it was last week. Give it the loving attention that it needs, because if you follow some of the other stuff I've talked about how we are energy, there's energy flowing in our body. When we have an ache or a pain, that's a sign of energy not flowing, and it needs attention, right? So where your attention goes, energy flows. So you pay attention to that area, get the energy flowing there. Maybe you can even imagine, another technique I teach is imagine the breath that you're breathing through that area, like tense it up, like contract it, give it attention, and then imagine that you're pulling the breath through it. And then the third L is the learn. So learn, look back at what was going on the last couple of days or a few days or a week before this flare came on. Was there something going on? So looking back at those causes, was there something stressful in your thoughts? That's the first thing I would look at. Was there something, you could look also at something that you ate, a toxin that you might have been exposed to, all those things that I talked about earlier, or anything that you know that is a trigger for you. Maybe you had an argument with someone, or maybe you started like ruminating over the past, or maybe there's something you're worrying about in the future. So look back, learn from this, and when you learn from this, you'll say, or you'll see that this is not serving me. Whatever it was, maybe it was a food exposure, or maybe it was something else. Maybe it was your thoughts worrying. Maybe it was overworking yourself. Realize that if this flare came on, it is your body talking to you. And your body is saying, don't give me any more of that. Don't give me any more of that. So learn from it. Whatever it was, when you reflected, and if you don't know what it was, ask yourself. Maybe just get really quiet and say, what has brought this on? What is there for me to learn in this? And if you're coming up with, I don't know, you can say, if I did know, what would I tell myself I could learn from this? And then see what comes up. You do have all the answers inside you. Trust me, you have. Outside of this thinking brain, we have a much bigger version of ourselves that has all the answers, and you just need to listen to her. Give her the opportunity to talk to you. She does talk to you through the body, though. So that's like kind of getting to the shouting point, right? So see if you can learn to listen when it's still a whisper. Okay, so I would say the one thing you can do today to improve your health is notice your thoughts. What are you thinking? What thoughts do you keep coming back to? Is it worry over the past? Is it worry about the future, or ruminating over the past, or worrying about the future? Or what are your thoughts about yourself? Just start to notice your thoughts, what you're constantly thinking, because these things create responses in your body. Your hormones respond to that, your thoughts, and you create vibration in your body, and then our entire physiology is responding to that. I wrote a whole blog, and I'll share the link in the comments on how emotions affect. I wrote it on joint pain, but it really applies to any pain. So I'll share that with you, and you can have a look at that. And I talk about how our emotions affect our physiology, because all of our cells are listening. They have antenna on the surface of the cells that pick up on these vibrations that come from our emotions, pick up on signals from hormones and respond to it. And then they're recreating, right? Our cells are constantly turning over, reproducing based on this new information that's in the environment all the time. So we want to give it the right information to reproduce. Healthy cells then we're reproducing a healthy organism, us, right? And then we can be the finest version of ourselves. That's what I want for you. Okay, so I want to tell you about something else I've got coming up too, where I teach all of these practices. Many of them come from a book called The Energy Codes, and I am starting a course on February 1st. The classes start February 7th. Yes, February 7th. And so I'm going to be teaching the practices of the Energy Codes, which is a book by Dr. Sue Morter called The 7-Step System to Awaken Your Spirit, Heal Your Body, and Live Your Best Life. Incredible, to me, life-changing book. I'm certified by Dr. Sue to be a facilitator to teach these practices. So there is a website that I can share with you to learn. You can learn more about what I'm doing there. I'm just going to copy and paste this and put it up here. Let me see. I've got to put it right here and I can share it with you. So it's go.janehoganhealth.com/energy codes. There we go. go.janehoganhealth.com/energy codes. So you can go there, read about it, and see if you'd like to sign up for it. But I even just recommend if you feel like maybe you're not sure, get the book and read it. It's such a great book. And she talks about all these things as well, really bringing together the science and the spirituality of how we can create the state in our body where healing happens as a byproduct, a happy side effect. All right. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you for joining me. And I'll see you again for Wellness by Design next week. Bye.